In the dim light of Golgotha, where 3 crosses loomed against the darkened sky, the weight of the world's sins pressed heavily upon the shoulders of Jesus Christ. Each breath he took was an agony, each moment a testament to his boundless love for humanity. As he hung there, nailed to the rugged wood, his lips parted, and he spoke the 7 last words that echoed through eternity. 1. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. His voice, though strained and weary, carried a divine grace that seemed to pierce through the chaos of the crowd below. Despite the pain coursing through his body, Jesus looked upon his executioners with compassion, understanding the ignorance that led them to commit such a grievous act. In that moment, he pleaded with the Father to extend his mercy upon those who had condemned him to die. In this passage, Jesus' voice is depicted as carrying a divine grace, despite the physical strain and weariness he undoubtedly experienced while hanging on the cross. This divine grace is portrayed as having a profound effect on those who heard it, piercing through the chaos and noise of the crowd below. Despite the excruciating pain he was enduring, Jesus is described as looking upon his executioners with compassion. Rather than harboring resentment or anger towards them for their role in his crucifixion, he understands the ignorance that led them to commit such a grievous act. This demonstrates Jesus' boundless capacity for forgiveness and empathy, even in the face of unimaginable suffering. In that moment, Jesus is depicted as pleading with the Father to extend his mercy upon those who had condemned him to die. This plea highlights Jesus' selflessness and his unwavering commitment to fulfilling the divine purpose of his sacrifice. Rather than seeking vengeance or retribution, Jesus intercedes on behalf of his persecutors, demonstrating his limitless love and compassion for all humanity. 2. My God, why have you forsaken me? As darkness descended upon the land, a profound sense of abandonment enveloped Jesus. In his humanity, he experienced the anguish of separation from the Father, bearing the weight of sin and suffering on behalf of all humanity. In this cry of anguish, Jesus expressed the depths of his agony, yet remained steadfast in his obedience to the divine will, trusting in God's plan for redemption. In this passage, the darkness descending upon the land serves as a symbolic representation of the spiritual and emotional turmoil that Jesus experienced during his crucifixion. It signifies the profound sense of abandonment that enveloped him as he faced the ultimate sacrifice for humanity's sins. As a human being, Jesus experienced the full range of human emotions, including feelings of loneliness and despair. This sense of abandonment stemmed from his momentary separation from the Father, which was necessary for him to fully bear the weight of sin and suffering on behalf of all humanity. Despite the immense agony and anguish he endured, Jesus remained steadfast in his obedience to the divine will. Even in the depths of his despair, he trusted in God's plan for redemption and willingly accepted his role as the sacrificial lamb. This demonstrates Jesus' unwavering commitment to fulfilling his mission, regardless of the personal cost. In his cry of anguish, Jesus expressed the depths of his suffering, both physical and emotional. It was a moment of intense vulnerability, where he laid bare his humanity and the profound agony he experienced on the cross. Yet, even in his darkest hour, Jesus' faith and trust in God never wavered, serving as a powerful example of unwavering devotion and submission to the divine will. 3. I thirst. The parched agony of crucifixion consumed Jesus, his body weakened by hours of torment. In his plea for water, he not only endured physical suffering but also symbolized the thirst for righteousness and spiritual renewal that pervades the human soul. Even in his moment of greatest need, Jesus revealed his vulnerability, bridging the gap between divinity and humanity with his profound humanity. In this passage, the physical agony of crucifixion is emphasized as consuming Jesus, leaving his body weakened and parched after enduring hours of torment. The intense suffering he experienced on the cross is depicted as reaching a peak, with Jesus' desperate plea for water serving as a poignant symbol of his physical distress. However, beyond the immediate physical pain, Jesus' cry for water carries deeper symbolic significance. It symbolizes the universal human longing for righteousness and spiritual renewal. Just as physical thirst is a fundamental human need, so too is the thirst for spiritual fulfillment and redemption. Through his plea, Jesus not only expresses his own physical suffering, but also encapsulates the deeper spiritual longing that pervades the human soul. Furthermore, Jesus' vulnerability in this moment is highlighted. Despite his divine nature, he experiences the full extent of human suffering and weakness. By revealing his need for water, Jesus bridges the gap between divinity and humanity, demonstrating his profound humanity and his ability to empathize with the struggles of ordinary people. In essence, this passage serves to underscore Jesus' dual nature as both fully divine and fully human. Even in his moment of greatest physical need, he remains a beacon of hope and salvation, offering solace to all who thirst for righteousness and spiritual renewal. 6. It is finished. With these words, Jesus proclaimed the fulfillment of his earthly mission, the culmination of God's redemptive plan for humanity. Through his sacrificial death, he conquered sin and death, offering salvation to all who would believe in him. In this triumphant declaration, Jesus affirmed the victory of love over hatred, light over darkness, and life over death, ushering in a new era of hope and reconciliation. Jesus' declaration, "It is finished," is portrayed as the culmination of his earthly mission and the fulfillment of God's redemptive plan for humanity. This proclamation carries immense significance, signifying the completion of the work Jesus came to accomplish on earth. Firstly, Jesus' sacrificial death on the cross is depicted as the ultimate act of love and obedience to God. Through his death, Jesus atoned for the sins of humanity, offering himself as the perfect sacrifice to reconcile humanity with God. By declaring, "It is finished," Jesus signifies that his mission of redemption has been accomplished in full accordance with God's plan. Moreover, Jesus' death is portrayed as a victory over sin and death itself. Through his sacrificial death and subsequent resurrection, Jesus conquered the power of sin and death, offering salvation and eternal life to all who believe in him. This victory is not only a triumph over physical death, but also a spiritual triumph over the forces of darkness and evil. In declaring "it is finished," Jesus affirms the triumph of love over hatred, light over darkness, and life over death. His sacrificial death becomes the catalyst for a new era of hope and reconciliation between God and humanity. Through Jesus' sacrifice, believers are offered the opportunity for forgiveness, redemption, and eternal life, ushering in a new covenant of grace and salvation. Overall, this triumphant declaration encapsulates the central message of Christianity, the victory of Christ over sin and death, and the promise of salvation for all who believe in him. It serves as a powerful reminder of the transformative power of Jesus' sacrifice and the hope it brings to a broken and sinful world. 7. Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. In his final breath, Jesus surrendered his life into the hands of the Father, trusting in his divine providence and infinite mercy. With unwavering faith and boundless love, he embraced death as the ultimate act of obedience and self-sacrifice, paving the way for the redemption of humanity. In this moment of sublime surrender, Jesus demonstrated the power of faith to conquer fear and the promise of eternal life for all who place their trust in God. As the echoes of his words faded into the darkness, a profound stillness descended upon Golgotha. Yet, in the silence, the promise of redemption echoed through the ages, offering hope to all who would heed the call of love and follow in the footsteps of the crucified Messiah.